The moment my parents realized that they can't control me was when they started seeing me as a person. When I came out a few years ago, you can watch the video, follow this link. I realized how important it is to disappoint your parents.
Hi, welcome back to our channel. I'm Dumi.
And I'm Ru.
And we are RuMates. And today we're going to be talking about why we think it's important to disappoint your parents. This topic was inspired by a few submissions on our Ask RuMates form, which you can go ahead and use to
ask us any questions, ask for advice. The link is in the description below and the pinned comment down below. I think one of the most important steps in a relationship between children and their parents is when the children realize that their parents are people. You know, because I think what that does is you're more open to understanding that people make mistakes, that you understand that, you know. And when you realize that your parents are people, when they do mess up, it's more understandable. It doesn't feel like a betrayal from this figure that's supposed to protect you and be there for you and nurture you. It just feels like people mess up.
So even though they can come to you sometimes with the best of intentions, sometimes the actions they take are not necessarily going to be the best for you. And that's okay. Our parents have their own lives and they have their own ideas
and lived experiences,
and so do we. So it's important to honor that for them and yourself. With that being said though, I think it's important that parents also realize that their children are also people. True. That they will have differing views, that they are not just carbon copies, they are individuals. When you're bringing children into the world, you need to realize that you're bringing a whole entire human being that will contribute to society. You need to understand that this person has a mind of their own. True. And you also need to appreciate and understand that and accept it. That this person is not always going to do what you want, and that's the point, because they are not you.
And really just identifying as a person first before the title of mother and all these other things really just takes off that pressure of, you know, like, oh, as a mother I should know exactly what my child wants, what to do all the time, you know. It really just relieves some of that pressure that comes with that title. So first understanding that, I'm a person who has a human that came out of me, and I need to do, you know, I want to get to know it, rather than, as a mother I know exactly what's right. I know what to do, because the truth of the matter is none of us know what's going on. We're all just trying to survive, and we should be working together rather than against each other.
Hi guys, thank you so much for watching our videos. I know you like our content, so please consider supporting us by buying us some coffee, which you can do by following the link in our description box or in the pinned comment below. You can support us with as little as $1, which is less than 20 Rand, $5, which is less than 100 Rand, or any amount you feel comfortable with. We're currently going through the financial pits right now, and so this money will contribute to helping us secure accommodation and help us focus more on content creation and getting better equipment. If you can't financially support us, that's okay. Another way to support us is by watching our videos till the end, commenting, subscribing, and sharing them to help us get monetized by YouTube. Thank you so much for listening to us. Hope you enjoyed the video.
When I went to university, I think the one thing that I learned in my first year was the importance of having mutual relationships. And this goes for romantic relationships, your friendships, and the relationship you have with your parents. Once I was apart from my parents and I came into myself, I realized that our relationship wasn't really the best. And it was very difficult for me to open up to my parents and tell them, like, hey, this is, not really working for me, and this is not who I am. But over time, I realized that in order for that relationship to progress, to be good, it had to be mutual. We had to look at each other and be honest with each other and communicate effectively to say, hey, even though we may have differing opinions on certain aspects, you are still my child, and above all, you are your own person, and we can have a relationship where we can respect each other and love each other, even if it's from afar, and be there for each other.
Yeah, but I guess there shouldn't be pressure on us as children to enforce that on our parents, you know, because they must want to have a mutual relationship with you too, you know. So if you really are trying to push and have like a mutual relationship with someone, and you're really trying to communicate but they're not communicating back, you know, it really is impossible to foster that relationship. You might want it really, really badly, but if it's not going to happen, it's really important to just protect your peace.
It's okay to leave that situation and protect your peace, because as we said, mutual relationships mean that you have mutual respect for each other, and the moment you don't have that, it can become toxic. So what am I trying to say? I'm getting emotional.
Like, you won't always like your family. Sometimes people just don't gel. You know, even if you're family, sometimes you just don't get along, you know. Not in like a hateful, toxic way, although that does happen where it becomes actually, you know, abusive. But sometimes they're just not your vibe, you know, and you're not each other's vibe. And that's not a bad thing, you know. You don't have to resent people for not being on the same frequency with you. It's okay. And you shouldn't try to force people to join your frequency. But there should be that form of respect, to be like, okay, I understand where you are. I hope you understand where I'm at. If you're in a space where you really can't leave physically, you can kind of leave emotionally.
I don't know that that's like good advice.
I mean, it does protect your peace. Instead of trying to fight, to be like, oh, why don't you understand me? Why aren't you listening to me? You know, you can just be like, okay, clearly you're not trying to communicate with me. So I'm going to receive what you say and do the best I can. You know, if she's like, oh, come here. When I call you, you're supposed to be here in 5 seconds. Do the thing. Don't fight. Give in. Because that really just protects your peace. And you don't have to invest more energy than is necessary into a relationship you don't even want, or they don't even want. Do you get?
Interesting.
What?
I mean, I guess for me, that's one way to do it, but I was a complete rebel throughout. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my parents, and I made sure to let them know. Granted, I was in a sort of safe space where I wasn't really my life wasn't, you know, in danger. So yeah, I had that leniency of being able to say no. And yes, there were consequences of saying no that were very harsh, brutal, maybe even abusive, you could say. But for me, it was important that I stood my ground. We may have fought, I may have shouted at you, you may have shouted back, but for me, it was very important that I get my message across regardless of what my parents wanted.
So when my parents would try to communicate with me and get to know me emotionally, I wasn't there anymore. I really had lived. I had chosen to just protect my peace and just tick the duties that I had to do as a child until I was ready to leave.
And I guess because my parents really weren't interested in my emotional well-being, it was more of a do this, do that. I forcibly let my emotions be known. That was my way of doing it, because but I was like, I don't like this, you know, this is how I feel, and they would be like, oh, this is disrespectful, or this is not nice, but it was the truth. And you know, I tried very hard to be respectful and say it in a way that wasn't, you know, mean or rude. But even in that situation, sometimes, you know, parents, what they consider disrespectful and what I consider disrespectful are two completely different things. So sometimes we have that barrier. So it was difficult, but because it's me, I did it, and yeah.
So I think what we did is that you consistently disappointed your parents.
Yeah,
Continuously, you gave them like little jabs from the beginning to be like, I'm a person, until now they really don't try to control you anymore. With your parents, it's very much you say what you say, they say what you say, and at the end of the day, what's supposed to happen happens. You know. And with me and my parents, I kept it in. I just closed up, you know, and then I did the huge big disappointment. You know, and just the explosion of like, bah, you know, you don't even know me. The whole notion of blood is thicker than water is interesting. I've never really agreed with it, because I feel it invalidates a lot of really valid families out there. in the queer community, we have what is known as the chosen family, you know. And I guess that goes into our next point, which is reconstructing the family. What family really means to you. Just because you live and eat with specific individuals and you share genetic code, does that mean you're family?
No. No. I feel like being related and being family can be considered two completely different things. Because yeah, I may be related to a lot of people, you know. I'm probably related to every single person watching this.
You know, Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve, you know. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're family. And for me, family are the people whom I trust, whom I speak to and confide in. This also does include my parents, but you know, I have broadened that definition of what family means to me. And I think it's important that we also allow other people to broaden that definition of what family means to them. Family does not necessarily mean the nuclear family where it's, you know, a man, a woman, and 2 children and a dog. It can be 2 people who decide not to have kids, whether, I don't know, different or same-sex relationships. It can be one person who decides to take the solo road into life.
But what happens with the media is that you hear, oh, if you don't have a father, you're lacking, you automatically have daddy issues, oh, you're broken because you weren't raised with a masculine figure in your life. That's really sad, because there's like single parent households that really raise amazing people, that really create these safe spaces for
Who do not
individuals
lack
who don't lack
sense.
You know, like, you can love people, like, you're not incomplete as a person. You know, as a person, you're whole. It's all about balance within yourself, you know. So you could have, you know, a heteronormative mom and a dad, and it can be still a very toxic and abusive space, because they, as again, they're people, you know. Just because now you're a mother, suddenly you're nurturing and you're a caregiver. Some mothers don't know how to be caregivers, you know, and that's okay.
And speaking of motherhood, relating to one of the submissions we got, I think because you are bisexual, I understand that people will assume that you should or will be with a guy. And I think that's very invalidating, especially when it comes from your parents, because that can make you feel like you do need to be with a man to have a normal life. We've spoken about this like a lot, about how she thinks that bisexual people have, you know, a choice. But really, it's not a choice. It's just who you are and who you fall in love with, you know. If I could be straight, I probably would not make that. Would I? But the point is, you can't make decisions based on what your mother or your father or whoever wants. You need to make decisions based on what you think is best for you. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your decisions. Yes, it may affect other people, but primarily, it is you who has to wake up every day next to this person and go through life.
My philosophy in life is, you know, I have to live with me 24/7. I have to be in my head. So I really try to minimize the amount of times I disappoint myself.
And also, don't have children based on, again, what your mother wants. Because having a child is a very serious thing. You are bringing a whole life into this world.
And question, will you hold them up to the same standards that your parents would have imposed on you? You know, if the answer to that question is yes, then you should not be having children, because like we said, children are entire individuals. And if your answer is no, then you should ask yourself, why would you tolerate that for yourself?
As queer people, we are always aware of the fact that who we are as people and might be a huge disappointment to our families, and in ways we prepare ourselves for that. Like, I don't think it's healthy, but you know, it's a means of survival.
It's expected, you know. That's why coming out can be such a traumatic event for some people, because you hear the stories of what people actually go through when they do come out, and you never know if this is what will happen to you. Because in our black heteronormative families, sex is not a discussion. Sexuality, what is that?
What is that?
What
Non-existent,
is
honey.
that? You know, so even just trying to gauge where the conversation would go is kind of like, you can get subtle keys from like how they react to like media showing same-sex, you know, representation. You know, you can subtly gauge what's happening, you know, but at the end of the day you really never know until it happens what their reaction will be, and they could surprise you. And you should be open to disappointing your parents.
This allows our parents to view us as people who have, you know, their own lives to live, and from these disappointments we grow, we get better, we learn more about each other and try to understand each other more. So disappoint your parents, like don't do anything illegal, but
Yeah.
do what's best for you. Yeah, but anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. See you next time. Bye.